Join us today on this thought-provoking journey as we are going to dive in and kind of explore the impact of cancel culture from a mom's perspective. Discover how it affects mental health, fuels worries for our loved ones, and find some practical ways to navigate this crazy cultural phenomenon while staying grounded in your faith. Hi, I'm Jenna Dix, and I'm always rambling. Just ask my husband. I have a great family and a pretty cool life, but I'm a recovered alcoholic. That's hard to say, but my goal is to inspire and educate to help others hopefully find life beyond an addiction. I'm all things: sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Getting healthy, momming, and politics. Get offended easily? You better stop listening. There is no point in wasting that Botox by stressing yourself out listening to a podcast. Welcome to Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dix. Today's episode is sponsored by the Grit and Grace Rambling Collective. Are you a dedicated listener to Ramblings of an Addict? Then this is a space you absolutely need to join. Grit and Grace Rambling Collective is a community designed specifically for fans of the podcast. I understand your passion for personal growth, empowerment, and faith in Jesus, and I'm here to help you take it to the next level. Join our collective of like-minded women who are ready to dive deeper into the topics discussed on this show, from personal transformation and really engaging in your health and wellness, but also engaging in societal issues. We will make sure to provide support, coaching, and guidance that you'll need to make the positive impact you are here to make. Together, let's continue the conversation, share insights, and inspire each other to live a life filled with grit, grace, and a whole lot of love. Do not miss out on this opportunity to connect with your fellow listeners, amplify your journey of growth, and being a part of a community that values the power of personal and collective well-being. Join the Grit and Grace Rambling Collective today, and let's create a space where we can truly thrive together. Check gritgraceglow.com for more information, and you can easily join right now with the details in the show notes. Welcome to today's podcast. I'm so excited to have you here, tuning in, spending some time with me, and grabbing some knowledge to hopefully utilize in your own life as a mama. Today, we are going to be talking about cancel culture from a mom's perspective. So as we dive in, as always, I'm going to remind you, make sure to double check that you are subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It just makes your life easier. If you're subscribed to the channel, it automatically downloads, so you do not even have to think about it. In addition, make sure that you rate and review the podcast if you haven't done that yet. That honestly is like my love language as a podcaster, I'm learning. And truth be told, love-hate relationship or not with algorithms, we got to work with them, right? And to go with today's theme of cancel culture, let's combat some of that cancel culture. If you do enjoy this podcast, please rate and review it. Say what you love about it, because we want to make sure anyone else out there that would enjoy this content sees that versus some of those cancel culture type of reviews. All right. So as we dive in, just a forewarning, anyone in Minnesota feels me, it is allergy season, and with the fires up north, the air quality is just not that great, but you know what? That's okay. It's a little sniffle. My voice may sound a little off, but I've got my water next to me. I've been throwing in some extra neti pots into my routine. It does not slow me down, so I'm going to jump right into that podcast today because, again, it doesn't slow me down, right? If you are a fellow allergy sufferer, sending you all the positive vibes. All right, so today we are going to be talking all about cancel culture because I think all of us know it's incredibly prevalent in today's society. So we need to know, yeah, it's around, it's here, but we do not need to normalize it, number one. Number two, how are we going to lean on our common sense and our faith to build resiliency in a society that seems to have cancel culture swirling about? We're going to talk about the mental health aspects of this. We're going to talk about just the general worries that many moms feel regarding this, and how, and most importantly, how to navigate it and what tips you can implement so hopefully you can help yourself and your family build some resiliency for this. All right, so diving into the first kind of topic with this, mental health impacts when it comes to cancel culture. Right now, I think there's a lot of things in society that are impacting mental health in a more negative way. And that goes through any time period in the timeline of life, right? You can go back and, oh, wow, that really impacted things in a negative way. Or, think about it. World War II, the Great Depression, and then you had the Vietnam War. And you had all these different things that were literally throwing the world upside down. That could be really hard to take on and deal with. And then right now, we obviously have a spiraling, crazy, swirling world. But then you add on top, we live in a culture that is quick to cancel, as they call it, right? Anyone that does not agree with what they feel should be normal. Should be the normal thing. Everybody believes it. Okay? So when you live in that, you're going to see anxiety, stress, self-doubt skyrocket. Because all of a sudden, people are sitting there and they're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to be canceled. I don't want to be ostracized for my thoughts or what I did. We live in a society where groupthink is incredibly prevalent. And when people don't fall into that groupthink habit, or they pull away from the group, sometimes also that can lead to isolation. So I will definitely emphasize the fact that right now, make sure for you, your spouse, and your kiddos that you're focusing and dialing in on how is their mental health for real. I talked about this with you, I think it was just last episode. Again, we kind of circled back on it with my daughter. And we definitely noticed it wasn't per se cancel culture, but more the fear of being judged and potentially canceled, things of that. We were blessed in the regard that hadn't happened, but the fear was there. She didn't want to be judged. And I think every child has that to a point, but right now it's like amped up. It is like on steroids, that fear. So making sure that we're really tuning in to how is our family doing and diving into the aspects of maintaining the best mental health that we possibly can, which I'll get into those tips in just a little bit here, but just making sure that you really have that radar, that mom radar going. Truly, how is my family doing? So sometimes, yes, that does mean I need to think beyond myself, which I am the first to say. Sometimes that's hard, especially right now, because it's like, dude, I have a lot going on. I'm focusing on my stuff. Like, I'm just trying to keep my head above water. But remember, God gifted you this family. You need to kind of multitask, which, hey, we're women. We're good at this, right? Quote unquote, we're good at this. We do need to understand that weight is on our shoulders to a point. You cannot shift that and be like, ugh, take care of yourself, right? Especially, even once they are a little bit older, teenagers, things of that sort. That is definitely the time you do need to be dialing in on how is their mental health? What could be impacting them? All right, so some worries that moms are feeling when it comes to cancel culture. Truthfully, I think cancel culture is impacting families as a whole right now. Kids are definitely feeling the weight of they don't want to be canceled because it's happening in the schools. They're seeing it there. They're seeing it on social media. They're seeing it in Hollywood. You make one wrong comment in a tweet now, and a celebrity essentially can be canceled. Their career is shot. And some of these celebrities are celebrities that kids do follow. And of course, right now, many of them are slipping my mind, but I have heard from Haley, our oldest one, like, oh my goodness, so-and-so got canceled for saying this. And I'm like, well, that's not even something someone should get canceled for. I know, right? Isn't that ridiculous? So it's like they do see it. Kids are seeing it and experiencing it. Our spouses are experiencing it. We're experiencing it in the workplace. Fearing like, I can't say that because essentially I could be ostracized at work for that. I could be canceled. I could be let go because of that belief or that thought. If you don't jump on board with the mainstream idea that whatever entity you're worried about has, the fear of being canceled is real and alive. Our family, we definitely have had some time where we need to think about, okay, where do we land on certain topics? We need to come to that landing together. So I've shared on here before, like the sports phenomena with, transgenders coming into female sports. We landed at our decision with what we would do as a family. Because we didn't want, mom to say this, dad to say this, Haley to say that, and then all of a sudden, have pieces not in alignment. Because potentially something like that, there is the potential of being canceled. You can look at Riley Gaines right now, who has made a lot of movement in that arena, okay? She's definitely been canceled by certain crowds. I don't think the girl cares. Well, pardon me. I'm sure she cares. I'm sure her strength from God right now is keeping her going because she knows the ultimate mission is bigger, right? But make sure that as a family on the big issues that have that potential of being a cancel culture item, you are coming to your decision together. And obviously you're mom and you have your conversation with dad, right? So you two lead the family, but definitely take that input from your kids. Would we take McKenna's input as seriously as Haley's? No. You should have just seen my kid as she headed off to Costco with about 15 million items of costume jewelry on. Like, I don't 100% agree with her decisions, right? But Haley, I'm going to take her decision with more weight. Also, I looked up, what are some top concerns right now in today's time with moms as a whole? Of what are they fearing when it comes to cancel culture? And there were 5 things that really stuck out. And these were, I didn't handpick, these were the top 5, okay? 1, lack of due process. So right now, people are quick to decide. They don't look at the facts. They don't look at the reasons as to why did that decision be made or why did that person say that? Why did that person do that? It's not like you're in a court anymore getting really, the due process that many of us do deserve before we are quote-unquote canceled. Another concern that a lot of moms have said is cancel culture is impacting free speech. People are fearing speaking up on their beliefs because they don't want to be canceled. They don't want to be ostracized. Especially, this can impact, like I said, our children, which mental health, you don't want to be isolated as a child. You want to be liked. As adults, it impacts us on different levels. It can impact your business if you're a business owner. It can impact your friendships. It can impact your relationships with your family. But it's impacting, in the end, our right here in this country of having free speech. Another one is there's a lot of harassment right now. That was the third concern that moms have. That, just because my kids said their opinion wasn't loved, and you can even say it myself, right? there's harassment that then comes into play. You know, I've had this to a point. I've watched people in the political arena, I've watched celebrities deal with, oh my goodness, so much worse. So the little threats and harassment pieces that I've gotten behind the scenes, don't get me wrong, I've not loved it. There's been moments that like a tear sheds and I pray. But people think right now that they can say whatever the fuck they want when they didn't like what you said and I'm gonna cancel you. They can say whatever they want to you. Horrible things. And the fourth concern that moms have when it comes to cancel culture is overreach/intolerance. So right now, people are quick to make decisions and quick to cancel. And sometimes it can be about the dumbest little thing that literally it's a stretch to say that should be happening. So, you know, your kid says one little thing, they didn't even mean it that way, and then this person like exaggerates a little bit on what your kid said, and the next thing you know, your kid's coming home being like, everybody at school hates me, they're all mean to me, like, and you're like, what did you say? And they will tell you, and you're like, that's not even bad. Yeah, but then they said I said this, and it meant this, and you're like, what in the goodness, right? So the overstretch is making these things even worse. And we live in a society where every single person likes to exaggerate, myself included, right? Your grandpa taught you that when you were a little kid coming in from the boat, you know. Grandpa, how big was the fish you caught? Right? We've all heard that joke. Exaggeration, I believe, is human nature. So you add that into a culture that's quick to cancel, whew, we're in for some trouble. And then the final fear, top fear that moms have, cancel culture is 1000% disrupting innovation and creativity. People are afraid to be who they are because they don't want to be canceled. Whether it's, you know, somebody with an entrepreneurial spirit or somebody who is an artist and they want to write a beautiful poem or a beautiful song, but they don't want it to be taken in the wrong way. Like, and then you have to sit and you're questioning yourself over and over and over. And I think people as humans, I mean, we already second guess ourselves. Maybe even triple, quadruple guess ourselves. And now it's almost like if you don't, you better just put the target on your back yourself, right? You have to really sit and look at everything you're doing with a magnifying glass before you put it out. And essentially, that's killing creativity. You look at some of the best things that have ever happened, you know, books and poems and songs, and that would never fly in today's society. And some of them, I understand. Some of them you're like, wow, that has incredibly horrible undertones. But then there's other things and you're like, what are you talking about? That's so silly. Why would somebody find judgment in that? Why would somebody not like that? But all it takes now is one person and then their groupthink posse to jump on board. All right, so I did reach out to a few different moms as well. And I'll be honest, one of the moms was like, even though I always keep these more anonymous, unless it's an interview where you're going to hear the individual's voice, I try to keep responses anonymous just to protect the listeners, and especially on a topic like this, right? And it was funny because one mom was like, well, I'm kind of worried because ironically, like, I don't want to be canceled. And I was like, remember, anonymous, okay? But some of the top things that I heard back were literally 100% in line with those other fears, those top 5 that moms have. I'm just going to pull some of the top pieces that I heard. So, one, we need to, there we go. We need to make sure that, I actually need this mom's notes, right? I can't just make this up, so I'm trying to pull up the right spot. There we go. Okay, so People are so quick to jump on any little thing people do. Exactly, right? And that's where that whole piece of like the overreach can really come into play. Because most people would be like, that wasn't a big deal. And, oh, but wait, yes, it was. She's like people are literally, it seems like, looking for reasons to cancel other people, to build themselves up, right? That's what another mom said. It's like people are using cancel culture to their advantage to build themselves up as a human. I agree, 1,000%. Because, I mean, that's an old one, right? People believe sometimes if I make that individual look bad, I'm going to look better. Which, if you are dealing with somebody with a pretty good skill set, they're going to look at you and be like, wow, you're kind of an a-hole. But in a society where people don't dig that deep a lot of times, it could have that impact. One of the moms also said, people do make mistakes. We do. 1,000%. They need to be able to have space to correct and learn from those mistakes versus, shit, I'm canceled. Instead, now they're being canceled, and cancelizations, depending on what it's for, who it's done by, things of that sort, you literally can ruin people's reputations and ruin their lives, depending on how deep it is or how big it really is. We saw this here in Minnesota during the riots. I'm thinking, off the top of my head, reporter Liz Collin getting canceled, and essentially, seems like the woman has pulled herself up by the bootstraps, gotten on to a different path now, which, great, but she got canceled and essentially had to leave that job that she'd had for years and worked her way up from the bottom for nothing she'd done. Because she was tied to a gentleman, her husband, that was with the police department who had done nothing. But nowadays, people are so quick to cancel, and it can literally ruin their reputation, tear their life to shreds. One of the moms said, I'm really teaching my kids that people shouldn't always have to watch out for your feelings. Develop some tough skin. And I do believe that is a skill a lot of people do not have anymore. And I can tell you, it's hard. Having thick skin, it takes time. And even if you are somebody that's like, for the most part, I have decently thick skin, there's still shit that's said that you're like, well, that stung a little bit. Wow, that was harsh. But you move on. But right now, it seems like so many people, you throw like a rubber ball, and they're like, a metaphoric rubber ball, and these people are in tears like you just bombed them. And one of the moms, she wrapped it in such a beautiful way. She's like, this all just seems like a waste of time, and we have bigger fish to fry. And I loved her bluntness. 1,000% how my brain works. And I agree. Look around, dude. You do not think there's bigger things to deal with versus your feelings got hurt because so-and-so forgot your made-up name that you made up yesterday and changed from the made-up name you made up last week. And it just sometimes seems absolutely ridiculous. Look at the big picture. So I'm going to go back and highlight a little bit. Again, think about all these fears. Tying this into that first section of mental health. Mama, and I've talked about this on a lot of episodes. Right now as moms, we are dealing with things that our moms didn't have to navigate. They didn't have to experience, at least not even close to the level we're having to deal with these types of issues. So in addition to trying to be a rock star mom, which, hey, side note, all of us we're doing our best, but we're going to have slip-ups. We're not going to be the best mom all the time, but we're doing our best, right? That's what matters. But add on to the list of things that we have to do, check on my kids' mental health in regard to cancel culture. Are there any things happening in their world tied to this that they're fearing. Because I can tell you, Haley Ray, when we had that conversation, like I said, we're blessed. She was never like quote unquote canceled. Her ideas, never, because she's very aware with political things and social community things going on. She never got like tarnished because of her thoughts. But she definitely was very aware of, if I get caught with these thoughts and somebody doesn't like them, it may not go well. Like, she was very hyper aware of, this might not be loved by everybody. And she did have a little extra fear due to that. All right. So we talked a little bit about, the mental health piece, the fears that we're going to have as moms, which every mom has some fears, right? Now we just have to tack on a new one, and we don't let it stop us. We don't let it like hold us back, make us worry even, to the point where we're like, oh, I can't even do it, because we can. No, we just need to add a couple more tools to our toolkit of how are we going to navigate this cancel culture to set ourselves and our family up for success. And the first thing is, we need to be offering practical strategies for how to deal with it. And that means, number one, we need to teach our kids how to actually be critical thinkers. And I'm sorry, paint my cancel culture target on my back right now. The critical thinking skills right now they're teaching in school, I call BS. In public schools, those are not the critical thinking skills I want my children to be utilizing as their critical thinking. Go back to common sense, mamas. You know it. Sit down with your kids and teach them how to critically look at a situation and think it out. And how to sort things in their mind. Also making sure to really ensure that your family is able to look at the media in a way that they can understand it and they can sort it out. Because right now, we are struggling as adults with media, right? Oh my goodness, what do I believe? What's fake news? What's real news? What's bullshit? What's truth? It's hard. I've talked about it in previous episodes. But talk to people in your circles too. Be like, okay, in our area, what's legit? Where can I follow things to know what's really freaking going on? Teach your kids that. I think I've talked about this on an episode in the past. Haley, there was a point she posted something that was trending. And I said, we didn't come at her in an aggressive way or anything. We just said, hey, what's your thoughts behind that? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. Everybody was posting it. Nope. That's not how we work. I mean, that's not what I said. But I'm like, oh, okay. But teach your kids how to break away from groupthink. They have a brain. When you created them in your belly, you made them a little brain in there. Help them be empowered enough to utilize their brain and not just be a lemming with other people in a groupthink society. Make sure that you are also promoting and building a very supportive community for yourself, which I've talked about plenty. There's an episode in here somewhere in my earlier episodes about building your tribe. But make sure, get your family, husbands, because your husbands are dealing with this too right along with you, right? Get your husbands, get your kids in communities that are truly supportive. Not where they're going to fall into groupthink, but where they can also have their critical thinking skills and their common sense appreciated and given space to actually think their own thought. And people that will say, hey, that's interesting. I don't 100% agree, but you know what? I support you. I believe in you. And this is my opinion. And for some of us listening, especially for, older generation, like I'm thinking like my mom, my dad, they'll be like, well, that's fucking normal. No, not anymore. Not in a lot of groups. There's still plenty of them out there. But you as a mom need to do your digging and find those groups to get your family involved in that truly give that space. All right. The piece that I think is going to come in handy and be 1000% needed. Interweaving faith, right? If you've been following me, you know this is, I swear, every single day becoming more and more and more of our lives and our family. But you need to interweave your faith and explore how can your faith help you really navigate cancel culture. Go into the Bible. Discuss, obviously, discuss with, your Bible study people, but more, go in there and see how it teaches on cancel culture. Is there anything in there that talks to you, speaks to you? I personally have a couple that I have leaned into these last, I would say, couple months, because I've been treading into some waters that I know could essentially paint a metaphorical target on my back, right? So, 1, John 15, verses 18 to 19. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as its own. But because you are not of the world, but I choose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Ew, Jenna, gross. That's a lot of hating, right? And in our house right now, that's an unkind word. McKenna loses her speak kindly dollar if she's slamming out the word hate. But this is different. This is talking about Jesus was obviously not a well-loved man by some people here. We all know that story. And if we were falling into the trends of the world, pacifying and agreeing and saying, yes, love it all, accept every sin out there, the world would probably be like, cool, thumbs up, you go. But for those of us who are like, wait a minute, our faith teaches us X, Y, Z. It's going to be, or rather, it will have difficult moments. But that doesn't mean we stop. We keep going. Because we're following the true victor. The person that already looked at this world and said, there's too many sins, right? He died for all those sins. And now we're going to do what we can to follow his footsteps. Another one that I have been thinking on, and I'll be honest, this one's hard for me. I can be, and I think it's females in general to a point, but I can be a person that holds a grudge. I do try to let go. And ironically, there's some situations that people would think, oh, she's going to hold a grudge on that for life. And I'm just like, it is what it is. And I put a boundary down and I move on. Like, for example, I think people would think that my ex-husband is someone that I would absolutely, utilizing that word Matt can't use, you have to hate him, right? No, I don't think I do. I've moved on. I've let it go. I don't want him in my life in any which way, shape, or form ever. But I'm not going to let it take space. Right? And I don't know. I think this is obviously something that I will face my maker at some point. And when he opens up my book and we're talking about Jenna's life, maybe he'll tell me, you never truly did forgive. You just tried to forget. I don't know. Maybe I'll continue to grow on that. But nonetheless, there's other little stupid shit in my life that I will hold a sticky grudge for a bit. But we need to remember, we are supposed to forgive. We can't be canceling everybody for every little thing. Because we're all forgiven. We need to extend that same grace. That doesn't mean you can't put boundaries down. But you still are supposed to forgive. So Colossians 3, verses 12 to 13. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. So no, sorry, sister. You can't be canceling everybody who goes against you. We can't be saying we don't like cancel culture, and then we be canceling everybody. Doesn't work like that. Because if you are living the life of faith that you want to be living, we need to get to a space where we are working toward forgiveness. All right, and these are the things, friends, you need to be teaching your kids. Teach them that it's not going to be easy. Jesus, the one perfect human ever, his life was far from easy. And we want to be following footsteps like his. Our life probably won't be easy either. When we run into situations where things don't come across the best, maybe somebody even quote unquote try to cancel us, we have to get to a space that we pray to God. We ask him, you beg him, help change my heart. Help me work through this. Help me set an appropriate, healthy boundary, but help me work through this so that I can forgive this individual. So as we wrap up here, remember that mental health is always important. As a health coach, I'm always going to tell you that. So make sure that you are working on that as a whole, but also keeping special space that, how's my kid's mental health, or how's my own mental health, or how's my husband's mental health regarding cancel culture right now? How are they doing with all that new aspect of crap out there? Have open and honest conversations with your family about that. Don't make it like something that you keep in the back of your closet. Be real about it. Deal with it. Figure out those strategies together. My second reminder, make sure you are in the Bible with yourself, solo, journeying through, developing your faith, growing your faith, but bring that family with you as well. Find ways, find strategies. Utilize scripture to help you stay stronger. Be in the Word. Be one with Jesus. And of course, kind of wrapping it all together, make sure you are incorporating individuals in your support networks as well. So we talked about support networks, right? If it needs to go above and beyond a tribe, you need true people, professionals helping you through. Maybe you're in the middle of a struggle with cancel culture that's so deep and you're like, I am drowning. Counselors, pastors, mentors, coaches, get them in your corner. Do not struggle alone. All right. So as we conclude this episode, I want you to remember that cancel culture is so freaking frustrating right now. And it's a real, yet crazy phenomenon. But remember, Jesus, he himself faced some cancel culture during his time, way back in the day. So, in this craziness, this culture of canceling everyone, anchor yourself in living like Jesus. I want you to reflect on this. This is something my mentor shared with me, or rather a study we're doing, shared with me, and we went over. Don't fight for victory. Fight from victory. Don't fight for victory. Fight from victory. Every single day, as you're stepping forward, put on that armor of God and know that, okay, yeah, this culture is not my forever home. My path is leading to something eternal. Jesus already won the battle. And as I continue stepping towards my eternal with him, it's going to take heart. I'm going to need to stay strong. And I need to embrace the hope that comes from walking in the footsteps of the true ultimate overcomer. Thank you so much for joining, and I will catch you in the next rambling. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dix. Remember, if you are battling an addiction, reach out for help and support. There are many resources available to assist in your journey towards recovery. Surround yourself with a supportive community and never give up on the path towards a healthier and happier life. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and joining me on this journey. As you heard, I'm always rambling. But seriously, thank you for your support and make sure to subscribe and follow my channel. I can't wait to share more with you on the next episode. Until then, keep on rambling. If you have found this podcast helpful and want to dive deeper into personal growth and self-improvement, be sure to head over to my website, jennadix.com. You'll find a wealth of resources there. There is a little less drugs, sex, and rock and roll these days, but whether you're interested in getting healthy, information on momming or parenting, or politics, jennadix.com has something for everyone. So, what are you waiting for? Head to jennadix.com today and start your journey towards personal growth and self-awareness. See you there.